Spinnaker has sent us this watch. It's called the Croft 3912. It's actually limited to 75 pieces worldwide. There's a couple of different colorways. There's this one here which is called the Storm or the Blue, and there's also the Sea Rust which is brown. And look, it's an interesting watch because it's a watch made in collaboration with a famous Korean journalist, Sung Yong. And the design layout is pretty much what you'd expect from a Croft, but there are a couple of differences. First and foremost, you've probably noticed that dial. You can see on the dial there's no logo. Well, there is a logo, but it's missing from the 12 o'clock position. And at first glance, I thought to myself, gee, that's interesting. It's sort of harkening back to the vintage style of watches, and they've placed that logo underneath the handset. And in doing so, the watch features a lot of negative space. Negative space can be bad, but it can also be good. And I find that experiencing this watch being a 39mm, it's actually worked out as a positive in my eyes. What I've noticed that when you're reading the time on this particular dial, any time of the day, the legibility seems to be really good. There's no distractions. But let's move away from that. Let me show you the specs of the watch, what size it is, how it wears, what it costs, and we'll go from there. Now the case diameter of the watch is 39mm exactly. I measure a case height of 11.6, the lug to lug is 46.9 and a lug width of 20mm. Now the crown is a 6.4mm signed screw down crown, and it features 150 meters of water resistance, and the total weight on this bracelet, sized to my 18cm wrist, comes in at exactly 135 grams. And on the bracelet and on the wrist, the watch has been superb. I've had a few Crofts that I've actually reviewed. This is no different. It fits really, really well. The lug to lug distance of 46.9 with that pretty much petite 11.6mm case height is wonderful. It sits well on the wrist. It's been unobtrusive. I really can't fault it in that department. Now having a close look at that bracelet, as you can see, it features female end links. They drop straight away, very easy, very nice for any wrist size. It has a taper of 20mm all the way down to 18. There's a milled swivel, press clasp, flip lock, and there's twin triggers to release. It also features 3 micro adjustments. The links themselves are also held together with split pins. Overall, a sturdy experience, although that press clasp could have been a little bit thicker gauge and offer a few more micro adjustments. And speaking of that clasp, it also features a diver's extension. It's hidden away, tucked in nicely. Now the movement that comes in this watch is a Miyota 9039. It features 42 hours power reserve, 28,800 vibrations per hour. It has hacking, hand winding, and there's no ghost state. And that crown, as you can see, is signed, screw down, 6.4mm. Easy to grab, unscrew, there's a healthy pop out, one click, and we've stopped that movement. We've hacked it, and we can adjust the time. Lock it in, and that movement starts. The hand winding experience is quite smooth from that Miyota. And the latch down experience, it's a first time, it's buttery smooth, and you got 150 meters of water resistance. Now moving on to that bezel of the watch, it's a 120 click unidirectional, so it goes in one direction. It's an aluminium insert. It's pretty much sterile with one lume pip at the top. So it harkens back to the vintage divers of old. Now looking at the action of that bezel, as you can see, it's a nice pronounced sound, but it is a little bit stiff to my liking. Also, with that knurling, with that coin edge knurling, it's, for my fingers, I find that a little bit difficult to grab. But in saying that, the action is precise. It lines up and doesn't seem to feature any significant backplay. Lastly, the watch features Swiss Superluminova as its lume. It's doing a decent job, although in my eyes, I feel the handset could have had a little bit more. The lume pip and markers seem to be doing a really good job. Just the handset seems to be trailing behind ever so slightly. But in saying that, it's a decent lume. Now the beauty of this watch, they've also offered it with a paratrooper strap. So this is basically harkening back to the French divers of the 1960s. Really nice. Basically, if you want to get a different look, swap it off the bracelet, and the watch weight and presence is really negligible on the wrist. Now I did mention at the start of the video that the negative space on a dial can be a positive or a negative, and for me in this case it's a positive, and I'll show you something. Let's say you change the time. Let's say the date or the time itself goes down to roughly there, 4:30, and you can see that it's quite an interesting look. I like that. It's actually giving you a nice legible experience. It's clean. It's sterile, but it's clean, and I really like that. It works. On a smaller dial, it works. Going up to a different time, as you can see, again, it works. So there's not been any issues in reading the time and seeing, you know, an accurate gauge of where you're at. Placing the Spinnaker logo, the 150, as well as a nice smiley self-winding at the bottom. It's harkening to the old watches, bit of a homage there. I like it, it seems to work. Now with all watches, there's positives and negatives, and with this particular one here, starting off with the negatives, the fact that they're limited to 75 pieces, 75 in the brown, 75 in the blue, that's a bit of a hindrance because once they're sold, they're sold. So if someone's keen on getting it, and let's say they see this video or a video review of this watch a week down the track, they'll miss out. It is what it is. A second negative that I found on this watch is the anti-reflective coating on that crystal. It's doing a good job, but it's blue and I don't like it. Now, that's just a personal preference. I just don't like it. I think a lot of these watches would have benefited from clear anti-reflective coating. I'm looking at a blue watch here with blue IR. Okay, so it seems to work not bad, but imagine the brown one with blue anti-reflective coating. It just, I'm a colorist, I don't like it. I'm more purist when it comes to things like that. So just putting it out there, it is what it is. Third negative, that bezel, it is a little bit stiff and it's also a little bit hard to grab with that knurling. It's very smooth on that knurling, so it does slip from my fingers. Also the fact that the watch offers 3 micro adjustments on that clasp. For this size bracelet link, to get a proper comfort, it did need 1 more micro adjustment in there. And my last negative of this watch is the paratrooper strap. It seems to be a little bit, look, it's a bit of a mismatch in the blue. I would have loved to see that color. That color on that bezel is sublime. I love it, absolutely love it. And it would have been great for this to be a similar color. But again, the French Navy back in the day, the troopers, they used to wear straps like this, pretty much a similar color to this. That's just me being nitpicky. Moving over to the positives of this watch, I do like that dial layout. I like the fact that it's got negative space, the Spinnaker logo at the bottom, self-winding. It, for me, for my eyes, and 39, it works. For legibility, for usability, for something more unique, the fact that you've got a sterile actual bezel itself, I like it. It seems to marry well really nicely. The wearability of the watch is very, very good, coming in at 39mm, 11.6mm height with a 46.9 lug to lug. It wears great on my 18cm wrist, and I'm sure it's going to find comfort on an even smaller wrist than mine. And probably the last positive is that case finishing. I think they've done a really great job. The brushing, the transition between brushing and high polish is really well executed. So overall, a decent piece. They're going to come in at $600 US. It's going to be available for purchase on Spinnaker's website on the 20th of August. I'm leaving the links in the description. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know your thoughts about this negative space in the dial. For me and for my eyes, it actually works, but open to all sorts of comments. Let me know your ideas and what you think about something like this. I've tried to give you as much footage as possible to show you in different lighting conditions. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. The Spinnaker Croft 3912, once again, limited to 75 pieces. Get on their website, check it out, and we'll see you all in the next video.